All right, Matt Gouget, Get Better Every Day podcast with my buddy Tom Mancuso. I am beyond excited to have you on, brother. I think that you are the type of person that epitomizes the type of comeback story, the type of resilience, the type of stuff that I'm hoping to impact people with the Get Better Every Day podcast. So I generally ask people to give me 30 to 60 seconds on who they are. Instead, I'm going to take something that somebody wrote for you recently, because I think it sums you up pretty well, and I really enjoyed reading it. So here goes the intro for Tom Mancuso: a loan officer, a husband, a father, a son, an amputee, an addict. These are all words to describe Tom. To know Tom is to see a man that has come so far in life that you can't quite believe it all. Tom's parents really shaped who he is today. He got his love of cars from his dad, who owned a towing company, body shops, and even race cars. His dad's work ethic and values were strongly entrenched in him. Family was everything. His mom was an educator, a preschool director for 32 years. She also taught him about hard work and how important family was too. When Tom was 21, his father passed away. It left Tom devastated and broken. He turned to drugs and alcohol for relief from the pain. He was in a horrific motorcycle accident that took his leg. He was in prison, lost everything materially. The one thing he didn't lose was his hope and his faith that he could turn his life around. It didn't come overnight. It took years of counseling, years of paying back his debt to society. Tom married an amazing woman who could see inside the man he truly was. They've started a family, and now he has two beautiful boys. He's clean and sober, well, maybe California sober, and in this new chapter of his life has discovered a gift he has that's to help others see what they can do if they really put their mind to it. I've worked alongside Tom, and it is a struggle for him physically. His mind is stronger than his pain. His desire stronger than his weakness. His will is stronger than just about anything you could put in front of him. His heart is bigger than you could ever imagine. And we put all these things together, you get a man that I'm fortunate to call my brother and friend, Tom Mancuso. Anything to add, my man?
No, I mean, as you said, I didn't write that. One of my really good friends, Andrew Kunasawa, wrote that, and he knows me very well. He knows my challenges and my struggles very well. We've gotten very close over the past three years. No, that pretty much sums it up.
Cool, man. Well, in the theme of get better every day, I think that folks listening to this, some are doing great, some are struggling. I think that there's some truth to the fact that everybody's struggling in some way. What is your advice to folks out there that find themselves in a dark place, down the wrong path? What do you think is something that would be your words of wisdom if somebody said, hey, give my friend 5 minutes here of your time on what they can do?
This will resonate with you. I remember back in my darkest days, my biggest challenges, I felt alone. I felt like I was just like locked in a closet, like in a tunnel, like just with my own demons. Felt like the world was passing me by and had no clue, what I was going through, which is true because, of course, I didn't share much of what I was going through, and I tried to suffer in silence and self-medicate and, take care of myself, which was all negative and just poisoning myself and making things worse. And I guess the biggest thing that I learned is sharing your challenges with a friend, a family member, a close confidant, a professional, anyone. Number one, just getting it off of your chest is very relieving, but you'll also find that there are so many others who walk around in life that you walk past every day that are also either are going through major challenges and obstacles in life or have come out the other side. You're a perfect example of that. I knew you for a couple of years, and you and I had a chance to talk about this time last year at a mortgage event in Vegas. And you shared with me part of your story that not a lot of people know. And it resonated with me because you knew my story. And I guess that was the biggest thing to me, was thinking I'm alone, thinking no one can help me. I have to do all this myself. And don't get me wrong, I had to do a lot of the work myself. And it was a struggle, as you know. But getting other people's perspective, getting other people to at least just listen to my challenges and give me a third party view of maybe some of the things that I was experiencing, that when we have that tunnel vision, we don't see some of the outstanding circumstances. We don't see some of the other things in our life. We certainly typically don't see the good things in our life. And no matter how bad things are, no matter how horrible the events in your life are, there are blessings, there are positive things in our life. And it is those blessings, those positive things that we really need to focus on and we really need to hold close to us, because it is that using those items, those, whether they're family or friends or children or loved ones or your dog or your cat, could be anything. That's what cherishing those things, reminding yourself how important those things are to your life. That is what will help lead you out of the darkness. That will give you a reason to fight. Um, there's a amazing documentary I just watched. I've watched it several times, called 14 Peaks. And it's about the 14 highest mountains in the world, all over 8,000 meters. And the climber is a Nepalese a man. He's a Nepalese Sherpa that served in the military. And he talks about, when you think you're screwed, you're really only about 50% screwed. And that's just it. Like, we think that there's no way out sometimes in life, and that's just not true. There is. But it is really sharing our challenges with others and hearing what challenges they've gone through. It might not be the same type of challenge, it might not be the same type of struggle, but learning how other people have overcome those things in their life can at least give us perspective and show us that there is more when things just sound like they're, hopeless. It's just not true. We just need to find that hope.
Yeah, no, I love it, dude. And the two things I want to pull out for anybody listening: one, you're not alone. And I think that anybody who has had any type of struggle, you can be anywhere with anyone, and you share a story about, losing a parent. You share a story about overcoming addiction. You share a story about something tragic in your life. That vulnerability, opening up about it, allows that other person to say, you know what? I had a struggle in my life too. And it creates, relationships with people. And like, just like you said, I find time and time again, almost every day now, when I'm talking to folks and, they bring something up that, we all have struggles in our life. And it's not sunshine and rainbows for just about anybody. And unfortunately, social media may paint that picture, right? Everybody's life is perfect and every Instagram shot is perfect, but the reality of it, the human experience, we none of us come out unscathed. And the other thing that I wanted to pull out of your comment, which was really good, is the small wins. Because I think that if me and you look back on our darkest days, and then we look back on, what's been accomplished over the last decade, what kept us going in week one, month one, year one was growth. It wasn't all at once. And I wasn't the man in 2022. I didn't go from 2011, 2022 and like just become a better version of myself overnight. It was constant work, working towards something. And I could take small wins, after being clean for a month. I could take small wins, caring for myself and my health and my family and things like that. And so important for people to think about whatever they are in their journey, is to celebrate the small wins. And it's more about getting better every day. It's more about growth than it is about the destination. I talked to somebody earlier today where you don't grow and you don't change once you become something. On your journey to becoming something is where all the growth happens. So on that note, I got it. It was a pleasure to hear some of your story. You can do it as long or as short as you want, but I think it's a interesting story to tell about that fateful day in September 2009. Just share that if you could.
Yeah, so you touched on losing my father at a young age of 21, and I was very successful at young. I got in the car business when I was 18. At 20 years old, was a finance manager for a car dealership. At 24 years old, was a finance director for a group of car dealerships, very successful. Everything just kind of seemed to go my way. I'm very personable, building relationships, love cars, great at stuff like that. And September September 5th of 2009 was a Saturday. And I used to race motorcycles like in my spare time, like just for fun, not competitively. And so working on one of my motorcycles, had the day off, just going to take it around the block, just 2 blocks from my house, going 30 miles an hour, speed limit was 35, not screwing around. Something went wrong with the motorcycle and the throttle got pinned, and there were a couple kids on the sidewalk. And knowing what happens when you lay a motorcycle down, they can fly apart, and it's a gasoline motorized vehicle. It can explode. A lot of things can happen. I didn't want to lay the bike down or hurt the children, so I tried to ride it into a retaining wall and bail off of it. When I tried to jump off of it, the frame or the wheel grabbed my leg and sandwiched me between the bike and the wall. Luckily, even in 2009, one of the 12-year-olds had a cell phone. It was his mom's cell phone, knew to call 911. Seeing the aftermath, I'm not breathing, my leg was severed, bleeding to death. I mean, it was a very horrific accident for an adult, let alone 3 kids, or 3 young men. And so they called 911. A passerby was a Vietnam veteran, saw the aftermath, jumped out of his truck, tried to tourniquet around my leg, and I still lost almost 50% of my blood. I would be airlifted to a hospital where I'd spend 8 days in a medically induced coma because the frontal lobe of my brain was swelling. So they induced me into a coma. When I woke up from a coma, it was a complete new world. I was in complete shock, but I had lost about 90% of my memory. Had facial recognition, like I remember that my mother was my mother by her face. Couldn't tell you her name, couldn't tell you my name. The doctors asked me what happened to me. There was a football game on the TV. I'll never forget this because my best friend reminds me of this all the time. And the doctor said, "Do you know what happened to you?" I said, "Yeah, I was a coach and I was on the sideline and a football player hit me with his cleat and it took my leg off." Everybody just laughed, like thought I was making a joke because I like to make jokes. But then the reality set in that I did not know, and I didn't know what happened to me. I didn't know where I was. I was in complete shock, just completely helpless. And for someone who had never been in the hospital before, a lot of things went my way, very successful at a young age, very egotistical, very materialistic. That is a very, very hard pill to swallow. When your life is just completely turned upside down, it's just hard to fathom and grasp that. And so it was a long struggle. I spent 3 months in the hospital, had a number of medical setbacks. I was destroyed physically, fell out of the hospital bed. My leg got infected with gangrene. They had to amputate more of my leg to save my life. Fractured a vertebrae in my neck falling out of the bed. I mean, just I was really, really in a bad space. And there's just a lot of things that happened to me that I experienced that really gave me a different perspective. One of the most important things that happened to me was in the rehab hospital that I spent 2 months at. One of the patients, my physical therapist introduced me to, or told me to go talk to. His physical therapist was trying to get me to play on a Wii Fit video game. It's like a balance board. The game was a penguin game. The penguin was trying to balance on an iceberg, and you would stand on the Wii Fit plate to balance. And I didn't understand why that was important, but my physical therapist explained to me, well, now your leg that you're missing is about 25 pounds of body weight. Your prosthesis now, the metal leg that you have, is about 12 pounds. So your balance is completely thrown off, and you need to understand that. You need to work through that. Something that at 28 years old, we literally have to learn to walk again. And I wasn't prepared for that. But I still had the cocky attitude, still had the ego, still had I'm not messing around with video games. I wear a suit to work. I go to work. I have a very important job. Like I don't play video games. And so the physical therapist told me, hey, well, when this patient is done on the Wii Fit, you should go introduce yourself to him and ask him what he's doing on that Wii Fit video game. And it was an able-bodied guy, older guy, African-American, wearing sweatpants and, sweatshirt. He had a baseball cap on. And this is in a hospital in Scottsdale, Arizona. It's like 2 or 3 in the afternoon, and there's windows, right? So there's light in there, but he's wearing sunglasses like aviators. And I'm like, man, I jokingly say to my physical therapist, yeah, I'm going to go tell him that game you guys have him playing is stupid because he feels so embarrassed. That's why he's wearing sunglasses, because he's embarrassed. And my physical therapist goes, okay, I'm gonna go get some other weights, go over. And so I wheel myself over. And to give you perspective on what I was experiencing, I had my first prosthesis. I couldn't walk in it. It was like a door hinge. And you had to swing the leg out and land on the heel so it wouldn't collapse. There was no resistance. It was just a hinge. So I can't walk. I had a brain injury in my accident. That's how I lost my memory. The doctors in the emergency room told me, now that I've had a traumatic brain injury, I'm 300% or so more likely to have another one if I fall and hit my head. So you say that to a young man who then gets a metal door hinge leg that he can't stop himself from stumbling and falling on. So I'm 100% terrified everywhere I go. I don't want to walk. So I'm stuck in a wheelchair with a metal leg that I don't know how to use. I'm just completely physically still messed up. I don't have my top front teeth because they got knocked out. I'm just in shambles. So, but I have my attitude, right? I want to go make jokes. So I wheel myself over to this guy, and the patient then got on like a stationary bike, and he's minding his own business. And I roll over. Hey, hi, sir, how are you? And he looks at me, kind of, still got the sunglasses on. And he says, fine, like really loud and stern. And I'm like, my name's Tom Mancuso. And he just looks at me and he reaches his hand out, but his hand is like trembling. And I'm like, oh my God, like what's wrong with this guy? And he introduces himself in a very loud, stern voice as Muhammad Ali.
Wow.
And I didn't know what to say. I knew Muhammad Ali was a famous person, but did not expect to see him in a rehab hospital where I am in Scottsdale. I didn't expect to be in this hospital. I really didn't. I couldn't put my words together. I really didn't know what to say. I was just kind of in shock. I said, okay, have a good day, sir. And I wheeled myself over. I see you later. And my physical therapist came back and he goes, did you go meet that patient? I said, yeah, is that really Muhammad Ali? Like the boxer Muhammad Ali? And he goes, yeah. I go, what is he doing here? And he goes, well, one of the reasons why you're here is our neurotherapy is one of the best in the nation. And that's what he comes here for. He has Parkinson's. And we have a wonderful Parkinson's therapy department with neurotherapy. And that's what he comes here for. He comes here 3 times a week for that. And he lives part of the year in Scottsdale. And I thought, what the hell? This guy like listens to you people? And the physical therapist goes, yeah, you have to understand. He's probably one of the, if not the greatest boxer of all time, but he understands that we know some things that he doesn't know. And while he was a phenomenal boxer, very talented, he had coaches and trainers his whole career, his whole life. And that's what he looks at us as. He looks at us as his coaches and his trainers. We know what he doesn't know. We can teach him and show him and help him work through those things. And I thought, but like he comes here like voluntarily because I'm stuck in here. Like I hate this place. I just want to go home. And so it really made me think for a second. And so later that evening, I'm laying in bed. The woe is me. I mean, I'm just totally in shambles. My left hand was shattered. Of course, I'm left-handed. They had titanium rods in my skeleton. So my hand is frozen like this. No top front teeth. My right foot's broken. I got a boot on my right foot. My left leg was amputated. My left shoulder is broken. Vertebrae in my neck shattered. So I'm a mess, total mess. And I'm like, man, life is over. And I'm thinking, man, like the life I had, like I literally, that's over. Like I need to shut up and like listen to people and ask for help. Like if this guy like has such an ego, like can listen to these people, like I gotta just suck it up and like I need to ask for help. Like I really need to just give these people a chance to help me. That's what they're trying to do. And that just was a turning point for me where look, that old life it's over, but I'm alive. I survived. Like I'm here. Like this guy has a wonderful, amazing career, going to go down as one of the most famous people in history, but he's still here fighting. He can barely talk. He's trembling anywhere he goes, and he's still fighting. Like I gotta try and just give it a shot. And so that really was a turning point for me where I realized I gotta check my ego. Like I really gotta, man, ultimately, I look back at that accident, and so many people, when they hear my story, the first thing they say is, man, sorry you lost your leg, or I'm sorry you were in that accident. Honestly, 13 years later, I'm not, because the number one thing that I lost was my ego. And I realized that life is so much more than always bragging about your wins to everyone. You and I talk about this. We all go through challenges. Everyone's challenges are different. Some are much more than others, but man, we think some of the things that we have been through are just small, minuscule challenges until we talk with someone else who has yet to experience those things. And those are major challenges for them. And it is truly communicating with other people and sharing those challenges and how we overcame them to help give others hope. Like, I think that's the greatest gift that we can give someone else, is to be able to give or inspire hope in another person. Not just hope for like a mortgage or getting approved. While that is important, don't get me wrong, just hope in overcoming whatever challenge they may get through. We talk about this. While a lot of our challenges are different, every one of us is going to lose a family member. Every one of us is going to go through challenges if we have children or we are children of our parents. We go through challenges. Our parents dealt through challenges with us. And so we have a lot more in common than we really understand. We might be from a different place. We might look different. We might have different jobs. We might walk differently or dress differently. But the human experience, as you said, there's something about that that is so common, found in everyone, that really and truly, it might be a different channel, but the show is very similar. We have to remember that. We have to remember the things that we used in our lives to overcome those challenges can be applied differently to different challenges. Some of the things that you and I have talked about, some of the things that got us through our darkest days, while the actual challenge was a little bit different, the fundamental pillars and the foundation that got us through those things is actually very similar. And that's what we have to remember. We have to remember that as a human being, we share a lot in common with other people. And it truly is by those relationships and having those relationships with others that we can truly make our lives all better, and we can help others make their lives better.
Love it, man. I love it. I appreciate that story. I find it kind of ironic and maybe for you coming full circle, thinking about the fact that we'll be at a mortgage conference with Layla Ali together in a few short days after meeting Muhammad Ali, which, by some accounts might have been, lowest point in your life, if not mentally, physically, combination of those things. And it's funny because I wrote down something to ask you, and you answered the question before I asked it. Thinking about the amazing human being that Tom Mancuso is, thinking about how humble you are, how generous you are, all the things that make you you. I was going to ask you if you think that you're better off or worse off than you were on that day in September. I think you answered it. I think that, had it not happened, and it's funny to play this game because I do it sometimes. Like if you kept on a path that in the moment you might have thought was a better path, or some people might have said, hey, if the accident didn't happen, where is Tom Mancuso at age 41? Egotistical, shit doesn't stink, whatever that would have led to, right? I think that, you might have not completely answered it, but in my head you did, where you're a better person. You're a better version of yourself today because of the struggles you went through, as is most of us, right? All the struggle, all the pain that I've had in my life, I wouldn't be half of the person that I am today if it wasn't for it. I certainly would have ran myself into the grave. So I don't know how long the story would have gone, right? But I love the fact that, you took a pretty dismal situation, and you talked about all the physical ailments, and you decided that you were going to get better every day. And hopefully listeners will find some inspiration in this. And it's not overnight, no matter what the struggle is, it's small steps towards, becoming a better version of yourself that we're all capable of. One thing that has shined through in all the interviews that I've had people that have just enormous success where you would look to and say, holy moly, they were not there a decade ago, 2 decades ago. And little by little, they continue to improve themselves. And that's why, I'm a firm believer that, your background, your race, your social economic, your upbringing, all of that stuff, while it does play a part, like doesn't limit you. There you can find somebody from every bucket, in this human experience that has found massive success. And so hopefully we can inspire some others. Any parting words, or where can people find you, or anything that you're working on?
Yeah, so I mean, parting words. I mean, just remember, you're ultimately not alone in whatever challenges that you have. I talked to a friend over the weekend who's been struggling with alcoholism and addiction, and they turned around and said, "Hey, I've got 3 days sober," and they immediately went to. I know it doesn't sound like anything to you because you're 13 years sober, but it it's a big deal for me. And I said, "Hey, Jim, I want you to remember." Like, I remember there was a day not very long ago, I mean, 13 plus years ago, where I couldn't make it sober one day. Like, what, like that just seemed like an insurmountable obstacle I couldn't get through. Literally 20, I know it sounds horrible to some people, but literally 24 hours without dwelling, thinking, and obsessing about somehow getting inebriated. And and I told him that. I said, and don't get me wrong, there's people that have been 30, 40 years sober, that would look at 13 years and toss it to the wayside and think that's not a big deal, but it is a big deal. And it's a big deal to you. And I want you to really, really take that in. I want you to dwell on that you have made that accomplishment. And that's no small feat. For someone that's struggling with that, that's a huge challenge. 24 hours without, using a substance is very challenging for many people. And that's what we have to remember. And you can take that and apply that. And you and I were talking before we started recording that we have a perspective. There's experiences that we've been in our life that we'll never forget. It's just ingrained in our souls. There are lessons that we learn from those challenges and those horrible things that we've been through that we can't forget. And so when business or the economy or the market, takes goes into a negative direction, a lot of people start with the woe is me thing. And you and I always think, man, well, this is bad. It's not as bad as some things have been in my life, or how bad some things can be in life. And we have to remember, no matter what, we have to remember the glass is always half full. We have to find the positive. We have to remember that. Whether you're going to lose your house and you and your family are going to be homeless, at least you have your family. You can buy another house. You can't just miraculously get another family member tomorrow. Like, so there's always a positive thing. And let's be very honest, it is unfortunately or fortunately through those challenges and those life struggles that we grow, we learn, and we get better. But it's important to remember that as we lift ourselves up, we have to reach down and pull someone else up. I don't want to make it to the end of life wearing a gold, championship belt, bragging that I'm the best. I actually want to be the worst person because I've lifted everybody else up around me. I want to get to the end of my life and be proud of the impact that I've had in somebody else's life. That could be a customer doesn't think they could buy a house. It could be someone on the side of the road with a flat tire that is rushing home to be with their family. It could be any small thing, but you never know the impact that you're going to have on someone's life. We have to remember that we don't know what challenges and struggles people are walking around with, because like I used to do, like you used to do, we walked around like that too. And it could be such a small feat. Like a week ago, I was telling somebody the story this morning. I went to the gas station, walking in, there's an older lady walking behind me, and she's like 15 feet away. So it's Arizona, it's like 110 now. So I open the door and I stand there and hold it for her. And you could see, she saw me and she's trying to hurry. And I'm like, man, don't rush. Like, it's okay. I'm standing here. Like, I don't want to walk in there anyway. Like, and she goes, oh my gosh, thank you so much for that. And I was like, hey, don't worry about it. And she goes, it just means a lot to me. She goes, you're my son's age, and my son passed away a couple days ago. And she just immediately started crying because I held the door for her. But again, it's just, I never would have known that. I mean, I would have walked in, closed the door behind me. She would have walked in. I never would have known that. And this poor lady, burst into tears. And so you never know what somebody else is going through. It's important for us to open our eyes and open our ears and see what's around us and talk to the people that are around us. It is the people, not the things around us, that will ultimately help us in our lives. So, just take an observation of what's around you and in your community and in your family. Make a point to touch base and get in touch with those people and build and strengthen your relationships with everyone, not just your family, your friends, your coworkers, your colleagues, your clients, everybody. For me, I launched, following in your footsteps, a YouTube channel. It's got a couple of my speaking engagements on it now. I'm going to start doing some mortgage content. But you were motivation for me on that. You have an amazing YouTube channel. I hope everybody checks out yours.
Thanks, brother.
You can YouTube me, and hopefully mine will be growing as well. But yeah, I'm just excited to share my story because I truly want to help inspire others. Not to be, the best mortgage person or best salesperson or best really at anything other than trying to be the best human being that they can be.
I love it, man. You're definitely on your way. Great dude. And one piece of actionable advice I'd love for people to take out of it, because it really resonated with me. You talked about talking to your friend 3 days sober. No matter where you're at in your journey, celebrate the small wins, whether it's 3 days sober, 3 pounds lost if you're on a health journey, 3 clients when you thought your business was going to go under. These small wins show you that you're headed in the right direction. All you have to do is make sure that you're headed in the right direction and then put one foot in front of the other. For guys like Tom, putting one foot in front of the other is a pretty huge feat, right? Lost one of them. And so make sure that you're headed in the right direction. Take one step after another. We all go through struggle. I appreciate this immensely, Tom. It was amazing talking to you. Can't wait to see you. And we'll make sure to link all your stuff in the show notes. Thanks again, brother.
Awesome. Thank you. Have a good day.